Hello, all you Tolkien fans. Today we're going to talk about Maiar and we're going to rank them in tiers. But before we do that, um, I'm going to put on the One Ring because that gives me mastery over all living things. And also, it makes me all knowledgeable about the Tolkienverse and Middle-earth. Now that I have mastery over all living things, let's get on with the tier list. There are a number of named Maiar, and we are going to put them in certain tiers. Now, the tiers go S, A, B, C, D. Now, for reference, Balrogs are D tier because they're just a lot of them are actually unnamed. Like Durin's Bane, I don't really know what his name is. He's a powerful Balrog, but all Maiar are powerful. He doesn't have any other feats. And when he fought Gandalf, he was not in his restricted form, and Gandalf was in his restricted form. And despite being in his restricted form, he still beat the Balrog or tied him. So Gandalf, obviously in his unrestricted form, would be far more powerful than Durin's Bane. So let's actually just have that as kind of a benchmark for how these tier lists would go. So in tier D, you have Balrogs, excluding Gothmog, because he's the lord of Balrogs. Obviously, he has to be higher. So to establish another benchmark, Sauron would actually be in tier A. Very, very powerful Maiar, but not really, still not quite top tier yet. And by the way, a Balrog I'm going to equate with just your average Maiar in Valinor. So like essentially like tier D would be your average Maiar. And all the name Maiar are going to be more than average Maiar, including Radagast. So let's actually start with Radagast the Brown. Now, Radagast the Brown, one of the three Istari that actually came in the Third Age, the two blue ones actually came in the Second Age, but I think out of Saruman, Gandalf, and Radagast was the least powerful. So he goes into the lowest tier, a lover of animals, a Maiar of Yavanna. Still like above the average Maiar because they all were mighty Maiar, but the least powerful of Gandalf, Radagast, and Saruman, he slots into tier C. Now, the blue wizards, I'm going to slot into the same tier as Radagast. They were great Maiar as well, but we don't really know much about their feats. It's said, like, some people say they started cults in the east. Other people said they were destroyed by Sauron. Other people say they had great things to do with the great victories in the Second and Third Age. We don't really know for sure. We don't know their ultimate fate or what exactly they did. So based on that, just because they were sent to Middle-earth by the Valar, I will put them slightly above your average Maiar and Balrog and put them in tier C. And by the ways, I think their names are actually Alatar and Palando. Now, rounding out tier C, we're going to have to put Salmar. Now, some of you might be like, who the hell is Salmar? Salmar is a Maiar of Ulmo, and he actually made the great conch that made music for Ulmo. Outside of that, there's not too much written about Salmar, so he doesn't have any other feats of power. But because he did do a notable feat, making the great conch for Ulmo, he gets above tier D, so he rounds out tier C. So in tier C, we have Radagast, the Blue Wizards, and Salmar. Now in tier B, we start with Saruman. Now, Saruman, obviously, I think he is below Gandalf, but above Radagast. Now, some might say he is the leader of the White Council, so he has to be above Gandalf. No. He's only leader of the White Council because Gandalf basically assented to making him leader and gave the position up to him. Remember, Galadriel actually wanted Gandalf to be the great leader of the Great Council because she saw that he was the greater one. And Círdan, let's not forget, surrendered the ring to Gandalf and not Saruman. So based on those two things, I think we can assume safely that Gandalf was actually the greater between Saruman and Gandalf. So Saruman actually would slot into tier B. Very powerful, but still not quite elite. In this tier, I would also put Tilion, which is the moon, the guardian of the moon, a great huntsman. Now, I put him in here because he has to be below Arion, which is the spirit of the sun, because it did actually say that she is greater than he. So Tilion also slots into tier B. And at the top of tier B, bridging into tier A, we have Gothmog, the Lord of Balrogs. Now, he did get slain by an elf, so that knocks him down a tier, because if you're the Lord of Balrogs, you can't just get like slain by an elf, no matter how powerful the elf is. But he did actually kill Fëanor and several other important Noldorian characters. So he slots into B, almost in tier A. I have to put him below Sauron because I do believe Sauron is more powerful than Gothmog overall. Maybe not in terms of like military might and like fighting ability, but overall like sorcery, wizardry stuff, I think Sauron is the more powerful one. So let's actually move into tier A. The Dark Lord Sauron actually does fit into this tier. He's not the elite of the elite, but he is an extremely powerful Maiar, way above like Saruman, Radagast, the Blue Wizards, the regular Balrogs, and Salmar. So he is like almost like super elite. He's like tier A, but not tier S. He might be at the top of this tier, but he is not quite tier S. In this tier, I would also put Gandalf. You know why? Because in Tolkien's writings on what the Valar actually sent to Middle-earth, he did actually write that to the overthrow of Morgoth, he sent his, him being Manwë, he sent his servant Eonwë. But to the overthrow of Sauron, would he not send someone lesser but still equal to that? So that kind of to me means that Gandalf is lesser than Eonwë, but he is still equal to Sauron, which is the enemy. So Manwë, even though Gandalf was afraid of Sauron, Manwë basically sent someone that wasn't as powerful as Eonwë, but still the same as Sauron in terms of like wisdom, might, whatever, to actually counter Sauron. So that's why I put Gandalf in the same tier as Sauron and one tier above Saruman. Remember, even as Gandalf the White, he was in his restricted form. He was not actually in his full power form, whereas Sauron was definitely in his full power form, even though he did not actually have the ring. He was not restricted in power like the Istari were. So Sauron, and I based on that quote of Tolkien's musings, I would actually put Sauron kind of very, very close to Gandalf and Sauron. Now, another one in tier A is Melian the Maya, the wife of Thingol and the mother of Luthien. Why do I put Melian very close to Sauron? Because remember, in the First Age, when Melian actually made the girdle of Melian, it was said that no one save Morgoth himself could actually overcome it and enter Doriath. Now, that means no one but Morgoth means that Sauron could not actually get past her girdle. And I think, in my opinion, if he can't get past your girdle, you have to be at least comparable to him in strength. Because if you're much weaker than him in strength, he obviously could just take down your girdle. But since even Sauron could not actually take down the girdle and get past it, Melian must be at least comparable in strength to Sauron. The other one, obviously I mentioned before, the sun, and even Melkor couldn't stand to look at the sun. And I think Sauron was even afraid of Aryan. So Aryan, I think, has to be comparable to Sauron. So we do have a couple of Maiar above Sauron in S tier. And I think, like, to me, these are clearly above Sauron in S tier. They're like almost Valar Maiar. So obviously we have the two chiefs of the Maiar, Eonwë and Mare. Eonwë is the herald of Manwë. Elmare is the maiden of Varda. And these were the chief of the Maiar. Just being chief of the Maiar means they're very powerful, and I put them above Sauron. And plus, Tolkien did say that Eonwë was more powerful than Sauron by saying that, like, to the overthrow of Morgoth, he sent his herald Eonwë. To the overthrow of Sauron, should he not send someone lesser but still equal to Sauron? So that means that Eonwë is actually more powerful than Sauron. So Eonwë is tier S. Elmare, basically they're like co-captains of the Maiar, so I would consider them like equal in terms of power. There's two others in S tier though, and these are Ose and Yuenen, and these are the sea Maiar. Now, they have great feats that even Sauron cannot match. Ose actually was called the Master of the Sea, and Yuenen, his wife, is equal as powerful. She was the one that actually convinced him to not side with Melkor in the end and stay with Ulmo. Now, fun fact, And the main reason I actually put them in this tier is because these two originally, I think, were made to be Valar. And then they decide, oh, we have enough. And then Tolkien decided, I have enough Valar. So they're going to be Maiar, but they kept their feats. And these are feats that no other Maiar can actually match. So they get slotted into tier S pretty much automatically. So once again, let me actually basically regurgitate or repeat the tier rankings. In tier D, we have Durin's Bane, or just Balrog. In tier C, we have Radagast, the Blue Wizards, and Salmar. In tier B, we have Saruman, Tilion, and between B and A, we have Gothmog. In tier A, we have Sauron, Milian, and Arion, which is the sun. And in S, we have Ionwe, Elmare, Osei, and Yuinen. And that is my tier list. Comment below if you agree with me or not. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.